This is 100 Days of Sewing, day 4, and the studio assistant has now left. I was thinking when we'd introduce her, but no, she decided she was leaving. Maybe tomorrow. So, catching up from yesterday. Yesterday we sorted and cut and prepared and dealt with all of our scrap bin, and today we're going to do something with it. So, what I got done yesterday, I looked through all my scraps, and basically what I have is an over proliferation of 3 components. I have an over proliferation of Christmas 2.5-inch strips. I have tons of blue 2.5-inch strips, and I have a fairly large amount of Tula scraps. Now, when we talked yesterday, we were talking about putting all of your scraps together, right? So pull all your 2.5-inch strips, your 6.5-inch strips. I do have one exception, and that's my Tula stuff. I keep those scraps all separated, primarily because I have a really hard time figuring out what color they belong in, because there's so much color often in them, and they're mixed together. So I do put all of my Tula scraps back in a Tula scrap bin, but I do have a ton of 2.5-inch strips as a result of a couple of baby quilts and things that I've done in the last 6 months or so out of Tula. So I have a lot of true colors. I have quite a bit of line work. So we're going to work with those 3 groups today and make 3 similar quilts using some very similar units, but do them individually. So I'm going to get started and show you what I do. And then I'll do some table work so you can see what I do. And then I'll come back and show it to you on the wall. So right now I'm going to set aside the Christmas for a little while and work on this blue and white. So here's the ones, here's the strips. Here are some more strips and some squares. And then I did pull some white or lights. So white, cream, light blue, a little bit of light turquoise, and then some strips that I do have in my neutral 2.5-inch bin. So everything is cut either at 2.5-inch strips or 2.5-inch squares. So let's get started. Okay, I am back at my cutting table. So what I've done is I've taken a bunch of the strips from yesterday, and you can see they vary in length. Some of them are, this one's actually smaller than my standard. This one's a little over 14 inches. And then some of them are large, like a full strip size. And what I've done is I've sewn them together with a 1/4-inch seam, and then I've pressed everything towards the blue. So I have a pile here of just different ones. So there's a bunch of different blues. I tried not to repeat, although some of them will repeat. And then as a bunch of light grays, creams, whites, and I've sewn those together with that 1/4-inch seam. And now I'm going to cut them at 2.5. So I'm going to line up my 2 rulers so I get a nice square cut. I'm going to line it up on that middle seam where it goes from blue to white, and cut them at 2.5 and put them in a little pile. And I'm going to do this probably for the next, I don't know, half hour, maybe 40 minutes it might take me to get them done. And then I'll come back and show you how I'm going to put them on the board and lay them out. Okay, so I've now trimmed all of my strip sets at 2.5, and I have this large pile of 2.5s. And what I want to make sure that I do is get these properly separated so that it remains scrappy. And I have, you know, anywhere from 2 of one to, I think there's like 10 of this one. So the first thing I want to do, we're going to make a 9 patch here, but we want to make it extra scrappy. So I'm going to need 2. So when I do a 9 patch, they kind of end up like this, right? So I need 1 white and then 2 blues somewhere. So something like this, right? But I don't want that much in one. These would never end up, these pairs would never end up together. But what I want to do is I want to make sure I don't make too many with blue and too few with white. So what I'm going to do first is adequately separate these. So I'm going to put 2 in this pile, and these will be for these corner blocks, and then 1 in this pile that will be for the center block. So, and then we'll deal with these later, all right? So I'm going to do that for each one of these so that I adequately separate them. 2 and 1. 2 and 1. There's 2 there. 1 there. 2 and 1. And then 2. And I don't have a single of it now, so I'll just put something different in that single. So there's still a single spot, but it's not, doesn't have. Now these are a little different, right? So these, when I cut them with 2 different. So this one I need 1, 2 sets and 1 set. And then 2 sets and 1 set. So you just kind of have to pay attention to how you cut them. So I'm going to put these over here to be ones that I could disperse. So again, these are, the blues don't match and the whites don't match. So I'm going to do 2 sets over here and 1 set here, 2 sets here, 1 set here. These are those little singles again. Now I know these need blue with them, so this pile, because you need twice as many with the blue and you need half as many with the white. So, and then I'm just going to start matching them up. And all I'm really going to do is run through these and make sure it's not a, doesn't match this white as much as possible. You probably won't be able to get all the way and have 0, but try. And then I'm just going to pile them actually on top of each other like this. And then I'll be able to take them straight to the sewing machine and sew. So they don't need to be super neat at this point because I'm going to rearrange when I get to the sewing machine anyway. So I just pile these on here. multiples. Now, the one advantage you have is, you know, I can see that I need what I need here and then stack them up. So I'm going to do this one with this turquoisey blue. This one with this one, which is more of a purpley blue. That one again with the turquoise. This one with the purpley. And I can do that because I know that this stack's going to get too tall. So I'm just got a separate stack going. And I've got a bunch more blues over here, so oops, turned that one the wrong way. It goes that way. So I'll often do this, if these two are different, then I'll do the same fabric here. All right, I'm back from the sewing machine, and what I've done here is I have added the block that we had selected previously, sewed it on with a 1/4 inch seam, and then pressed everything to the dark. So I know based on the way that we divided them earlier that I have half as many of the light, dark, light as I do of the dark, light, dark. So now I'm just going to take my piles to the sewing machine and get started. And I'm going to sew on this edge at a 1/4 inch again. So the seams will nest, and all I'm really looking for is to make sure that these don't match, so that I have 3 different fabrics here. The white ones I'm not as concerned about, but if possible, I'll move those as well so that I don't get any duplicates. And in just working through those that way, it will ensure that everything gets distributed sort of evenly. If something starts to look too much alike, I will separate them out and just put one to the back In the end, everything will get sewn together though. So, and we should have exactly twice as many of these as we do of these. So I'm going to go get those on the sewing machine, and I'll see you back here in a few. Okay, we're back from the sewing machine, and I just want to do a quick demo on how I make sure that I don't have any mismatches. At this point, I have the second half of these 2 blues with a white here, and my ones that I sewed just a few minutes ago up here. Now I've pressed these towards the top, so towards the one that has 2 blues in it. And I don't want to get to the point at the end that I suddenly have a bunch that I can't match. So all I'm going to do is I use this middle spot as sort of a quarantine spot. So I pick this one up, check and see if it matches. It does. It's fine. Set it aside. Pick this one up, make sure it doesn't have a duplicate. It doesn't. I'm fine. And I just go all the way through. Now this one doesn't work, right? So it has that duplicate. So I put this one in quarantine, or this one, it doesn't really matter. But you can see I'm going to have the same problem here. So I'm going to take that one out of quarantine, put this one in quarantine. Does that help me? No, not really, because I've got this in a couple in a row. So I'm going to put everything that has this blue in quarantine here for a few minutes, apparently. And then I'm going to start again. Now, what will happen, I'm going to go this way. So that one is good. This one, I always want to look here if there's anything in quarantine and try to match it first. I can't match that one. I can match this one, so this one's going to go. Can't match that one. Can't match this one, right? So this one now goes in quarantine. This one is fine. So I'm going to let it go. This one goes in quarantine because it can't work. This one is fine. And I'm just going to go on like that as long as I can. And then at some point, I'm going to get to a point that I have to deal with them. And it doesn't work. But see, this one, I would think I might be able to get out of quarantine, but I can't. But I can get this one out. So I'll get that one out next. This one, I can get out of quarantine. This one stays there. But this one will work. And I just work my way through, working in and out of quarantine as I need to. This one can't work. And I know that other than this one, all of these are in quarantine because they have that dark blue in it. So if it is that dark blue, there's no chance. So I'm again going to go up as much as I can. So that one goes over. That one can't, but this one, which is already in quarantine, can go. This one can't go because it would need to go into quarantine, but it shouldn't matter anyway because this one should come out first. So again, anybody that's in quarantine, I've already done a Passover earlier, so I'm really just looking to get it out of quarantine if I can. So that one can come out. This one can come out. This one can come out. And so you'll go in and out of quarantine, and it basically just moves all of your stuff around so that you've got good coverage, good mixture throughout. And then once I've got them all matched up, then I'll go to the sewing machine and sew them all together. Give them a good press. So this time I'm going to press them again to the one that has 2 blues in it. And then we'll come back tomorrow, have a look at those blocks, and take our next steps. All right, that's me for today, and I will see you tomorrow on day 5.